Hi guys, how are you today? As you settle in, take a slow breath in and a long, gentle breath out. Picture yourself on a quiet morning, the sun rising over the horizon. The land is still, bathed in the soft golden light of the early hours. Far away in the distance, you can make out the silhouette of the Grand Pyramids, silent and eternal, as if they've always been there, and always will be. Let your mind wander deeper, past the desert's edge, towards a time long forgotten. You are no longer in your world, but in the ancient, sun-drenched streets of Egypt. You walk quietly through the bustling city, the air thick with the scent of incense, the sounds of daily life floating in and out of your thoughts. Now, imagine yourself not as a noble, not as a ruler, but as a servant in the Pharaoh's grand court. Your world is small, but your duties are many. You walk between chambers, carrying out tasks that blend into the hum of the day. Tasks that seem as ordinary as the dust in the air. Still, beneath the weight of this routine, a quiet and heavy truth awaits you. For now, let us step softly into the life of a Pharaoh's servant. And as you do, imagine the quiet weight of each moment, each action. A life lived in service to a ruler who, though divine, can never fully see you. If you're as excited as we are to dive into this captivating journey, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss out on more adventures into the past. Let's uncover the mysteries of ancient Egypt together. Hit that bell icon too, so you're always first in line for the next historical adventure. For now, let us step softly into the life of a Pharaoh's servant. And as you do, imagine the quiet weight of each moment, each action. A life lived in service to a ruler who, though divine, can never fully see you. As you step across the threshold of the Pharaoh's palace, the air changes. It's cooler here and filled with a fragrant blend of incense, the scent of lotus, and the distant aroma of food being prepared. The palace is a vast, sprawling complex of limestone and alabaster, its towering walls glistening under the warm sun, which feels like it could never quite reach the shadowed spaces within. The structure of the palace itself seems endless, a labyrinth of chambers, halls, and courtyards, all designed with the precision of a god's dwelling. The ceilings are high, so high that they almost disappear into the distance, creating an illusion of infinite space. As you move deeper into the heart of the palace, the walls seem to close in on you, adorned with beautiful hieroglyphs that tell stories of gods, kings, and great battles. These walls are not just walls, they are records of time itself, preserving the Pharaoh's divine reign. The floors beneath your feet are made of polished stone, their surfaces so smooth that your footsteps are almost soundless. They are cool to the touch, offering a brief respite from the sun's relentless heat. Some rooms are opulent, lined with gold leaf, precious gems, and fine tapestries. Others are modest, their stone floors worn down by centuries of service, yet still reflecting the glow of oil lamps that flicker quietly in the dim light. As you move from the stone halls to the outer courtyards, you find yourself stepping into a garden, one of the most sacred spaces of the palace. The air is fresh here, bathed in the cool shade of towering date palms and acacia trees, their thick canopies casting gentle shadows across the ground. The garden, though carefully curated, feels more like a living, breathing thing than a mere decoration. In the center of the garden, a long rectangular pool reflects the sky, as still as glass, its surface disturbed only by the occasional ripple of a soft breeze. It is framed by rows of blooming lotus flowers, their delicate petals stretching towards the sun, symbolizing purity and rebirth. The gentle sound of water trickling from a stone fountain fills the air, adding to the peaceful atmosphere of the space. The paths are lined with fragrant jasmine and myrrh, plants that perfume the air and invite the mind to wander. Pigeons, sacred birds in Egypt, coo softly from the high stone walls. The scent of fresh herbs, basil, mint, and thyme, mingles with the sharp tang of incense, creating a calming, almost intoxicating fragrance. Here in the garden, the Pharaoh might retreat to meditate, to pray to the gods, or simply to find peace away from the weight of ruling. For those servants who have the privilege to tend the plants or water the flowers, this place is both a sacred duty and a momentary respite. A brief, tranquil escape from the noise of palace life. The palace is not just a home, It is a symbol of the pharaoh's divine authority. Its design follows the ancient principles of order and balance. Each room, each hallway, each courtyard laid out with meticulous care, representing the harmony between heaven and earth. Every step you take is a reminder of the pharaoh's power, as it is reflected in the structure that surrounds you. The heart of the palace is the throne room, vast and imposing, with pillars that rise like great trees toward the high ceiling. It is here that the pharaoh holds court, where nobles and scribes gather to seek his favor, and where decisions are made that ripple through the lives of the people. The room is filled with the glow of flickering torches, the warm light casting long shadows against the stone walls. Beyond the throne room lies the pharaoh's private quarters, a space so sacred that it is guarded fiercely. These rooms are not meant for servants to see. Only those trusted, those handpicked for their service, are allowed to enter. Here, the pharaoh sleeps, eats, and speaks with his closest advisors. In these chambers, the line between the mortal and the divine is blurred, as the pharaoh is believed to commune directly with the gods, even as he rests in his bed. Throughout the palace, courtyards serve as places of both beauty and function. They are often decorated with tall, ornate statues of gods, their faces serene yet commanding, watching over those who walk beneath them. The sound of birdsong is often the only thing that disturbs the otherwise profound silence of the courtyards. The rules of the pharaoh's palace are simple yet severe. Every servant must know their place, and every action must be carried out with respect, with reverence. It is not simply about doing a task, it is about doing it perfectly, with a quiet devotion that leaves no room for error. Each servant's duty is carefully prescribed. From sweeping the grand halls to polishing the pharaoh's throne, there is no room for mistake. If you fail, the gods themselves might frown upon you. The pharaoh, after all, is not merely a man, he is a god on earth, and his will is absolute. Every moment spent within these walls is watched. The eyes of those in power are never far, and you can feel their gaze even when you cannot see them. You are but a small part of a vast and unyielding machine that keeps the palace alive. Every movement of yours must contribute to that rhythm. But beyond the written rules, there are those that go unsaid. Unspoken expectations that every servant knows, even though they are never discussed aloud. A servant must never meet the pharaoh's eyes, for to do so is to challenge his divine status. To gaze upon him is to see him as a mortal, a man of flesh and blood, when in truth he is believed to be a god walking among men. No, your eyes must always be lowered, your head bowed in reverence. If you are called upon by the pharaoh, it is not only your body that must respond, but your spirit as well. There is no room for hesitation, no room for doubt. You must be quick, quiet, and unquestioning. If you falter, the wrath of the gods might be invoked. And yet, even in the stillness of the palace, there is another unspoken rule: loyalty. Unwavering loyalty, even when the task is arduous, when the sun is harsh, and when your heart longs for rest. The pharaoh's servants must live without questioning, for to do so would be to invite chaos into a world that thrives on perfect order. Among the servants, the rules are no less strict, but they are of a different kind. The hierarchy among them is not set in stone, but is instead defined by experience, by seniority, and by those quiet bonds of loyalty formed over countless hours of work. The newest servant is always at the bottom of the ladder. Their tasks are the most unpleasant, cleaning the lowest chambers, carrying water from the Nile, or tending to the animals. But in the shadows, the older servants guide them, quietly watching their every step. And there, in the privacy of their small world, away from the pharaoh's eyes, whispers pass between the servants. They speak of their duties, of their frustrations, of the weight of their lives under the sun. But even this whispering has its rules. Too much openness, too much camaraderie could be seen as an alliance, a threat to the natural order. It is best to keep your thoughts to yourself, to carry on in silence. For in this palace, in this world, there is no place for those who question. There is only room for those who obey, who serve, who exist as shadows in the bright, blinding light of the pharaoh's power. Let us begin then with a quiet understanding of the world you now find yourself in. the great land of Egypt, where the sands stretch endlessly beneath the hot sun, and the Nile flows like a lifeblood through the country, nourishing and sustaining all who live by its banks. But Egypt, in its majesty, is not simply a land of sand and water. It is a kingdom bound by a divine order, an order that begins at the top, with the Pharaoh, a figure who, though mortal in body, is believed to be a god walking on earth. The Pharaoh is both ruler and divine being, the intermediary between the gods and the people, carrying the weight of the heavens on his shoulders. Underneath him, there is a complex web of society, each person, each role, carefully placed and defined. You, as a servant, are at the very bottom of this hierarchy. But this is no shame. This is simply the place where you find yourself. The Pharaoh is above all. The scribes, the nobles, and the artisans, they are next. And then, you and others like you, servants whose names may never be remembered, whose lives exist solely to serve the Pharaoh's will. In the Pharaoh's court, your role is both essential and invisible. You are the silent hands that keep the great wheel of the palace turning. Your duties are humble, but they are many. It is said that every servant in the Pharaoh's court is assigned a task, and that task must be done without hesitation, without error. You are not meant to speak unless spoken to. Your words are few, but your actions must be many. You move in and out of rooms, cleaning, serving, tending to the Pharaoh's needs. Yet, despite the importance of your work, there is no glory in it. The Pharaoh's servants do not seek recognition. They are, in a way, part of the background, like the silent columns that hold the palace upright, supporting the structure of power without ever being seen. And yet, there is a comfort in knowing your place. For you are part of a much greater order, a larger design that stretches beyond the visible. Each task you perform, each moment of service, is an offering. Perhaps the Pharaoh will never see it, perhaps the gods will never take note, but you are fulfilling your part in the eternal rhythm of Egypt. The expectations are clear, though they are never spoken aloud. The Pharaoh's court is a place of unwavering order. Every servant, every worker must know their role, and it must be carried out with perfection. There is no room for error in this world. The very fabric of Egypt depends on the smallest of tasks being executed flawlessly. As you move through the palace, you must learn the ways of silence. The slightest noise could draw attention that no servant desires. Your movements must be smooth, fluid, like water. You must never be seen unless you are needed, and when you are needed, you must be ready to serve with your full attention. This is the life of the servant, a life of quiet devotion, of unseen work. It is not about ambition or desire for recognition. It is about duty. Your role in the Pharaoh's world is vital, even if it is not noticed. The gods, too, favor those who serve without expectation of reward. But there is a weight to this life, a weight that rests on the shoulders of each servant. The Pharaoh, despite his divine status, is still human. And he, like all humans, has his moods, his desires, his whims. In the court, you must always be alert, always ready to fulfill every command. Your days are not your own. They belong to the Pharaoh, to the gods, and to the order of things. The expectations are not just physical, they are spiritual. The Pharaoh's presence looms over everything. It is not simply the weight of his authority that presses down on you, but the knowledge that in his eyes you are but a servant, a piece of the grand machine that keeps Egypt running. There is no room for personal desire, for ambition. Your own wishes, your own thoughts must be set aside for the sake of service. The mind of a servant must be still, calm, and obedient. The Pharaoh requires no less than this. And yet, despite the simplicity of the task, there is a subtle nature to failure in the Pharaoh's court. You may never hear the words, "You have failed," but you will feel it in the silence that follows an imperfect task, in the way the Pharaoh looks past you as if you are not there. In this world, failure is not about loud reprimands. It is quiet, subtle, an absence rather than a presence. Perhaps the task you were given was not performed perfectly. Perhaps you were too slow in delivering the water, or the linens were not folded in exactly the right way. The Pharaoh will not scold you in front of others. He will simply ignore you, as if you were never there. That, too, is a form of punishment. And yet, this is the nature of life in the Pharaoh's court. To be unnoticed is both the greatest burden and the greatest honor. It is a strange thing to be so invisible, to carry out every task as though it is your last, only to be forgotten the moment you finish. But the gods see all, and in the quiet corners of your mind, there may be a small sense of peace in knowing that your work is in some way contributing to the eternal rhythm of Egypt. Take a moment now to reflect on the life of the servant in the Pharaoh's court, the quiet devotion, the seamless flow of tasks, the sense of belonging to something larger than yourself. There is peace in knowing your place, but there is also a quiet weight, a weight that never truly lifts, that lingers in the corners of the palace, in the quiet corridors and shadowed chambers. And as you drift deeper into this world, allow the stillness to settle around you. The stillness of the court, the stillness of a life lived in service to a ruler, to the gods, and to the order of Egypt itself. Each day in the Pharaoh's palace begins with the rising sun, its soft rays stretching across the horizon, casting long shadows over the land. As the light creeps into the chambers, it touches every stone, every marble column, every piece of furniture, and you too are touched by it. Slowly, gently awakening from the quiet stillness of the night. Your day begins early. Long before the rest of the palace stirs, you rise. The air is cool in the early morning, a fleeting comfort before the desert heat sets in. There is a silence in the palace, a reverence in the stillness, as the world around you begins to awaken. The first light of day seems to linger just for you, as though giving you a moment of quiet before the demands of the day begin. As the sun climbs higher, your duties unfold like a soft, rhythmic dance. Every movement is necessary, every task a small piece of the larger, sacred puzzle that is the Pharaoh's court. There is a quiet urgency to each task, each small act that must be done with precision, grace, and dedication. The tasks themselves seem endless, though they are always the same. Sweeping the floors, arranging the linens, preparing food, or tending to the Pharaoh's chambers. You move through the palace like water flowing in a stream, never halting, never rushing, just following the natural rhythm of the day. The work is endless, but it is not burdensome. It is a task meant for your hands, your heart, your mind, tuned to the hum of the palace, quiet and steady. There is something peaceful in the repetition of each day. Each task, though simple, must be repeated with care, each step taken in the same manner as the last. It is in this repetition that a kind of stillness is found, a quiet acceptance of the rhythm of life, where there is no need to rush, no need to strive for anything beyond the present task. You clean the same rooms, polish the same objects, prepare the same meals. The cycle of your duties flows from one task to another, with no room for deviation. The work does not change. It remains constant, like the steady movement of the Nile, flowing day after day, season after season. Each task must be done, not once but over and over again, until it is second nature. Though the work is never-ending, there is no impatience, there is no need to hurry. You carry out each task with care, with reverence, and with the understanding that it is necessary for the smooth operation of the Pharaoh's life. You are not seeking praise nor recognition. Your work is a quiet offering, a sacrifice to the divine order of Egypt. As the day stretches on, the temperature begins to rise. The sun, once gentle in the early morning, grows hot and unyielding. The air becomes thick and dry, the heat pressing against your skin, weighing you down. The palace, with its cool stone walls and high ceilings, offers little relief. The air feels still, heavy with the heat of the day, and the work becomes more taxing with each passing moment. Yet, despite the oppressive heat, there is no rest. There are no moments of respite for a servant in the Pharaoh's court. The demands are constant, and though the heat may tire you, it cannot stop the flow of duties. You move, step after step, through the warm halls, feeling the sweat slowly trickle down your skin, but you do not stop. The work must continue. The desert outside might be harsh, but the palace remains a place of order, of divine service. Even as the heat rises, as the day grows long, you carry on. Your body may grow weary, but your spirit must remain steadfast, unwavering. The conditions of the palace are harsh, but this too is part of your service. Within the walls of the Pharaoh's palace, you are surrounded by people, Yet there is a profound loneliness in being a servant. You work alongside others, but the spaces between you are as vast as the desert. The work you do is solitary, and even in the midst of many, you feel the distance between you and those who occupy higher positions in the palace. The nobility, the scribes, the priests, they live in a different world, one that is far removed from your own. They pass by, their faces often hidden behind the heavy folds of their garments, their words directed toward one another, leaving you in silence. The Pharaoh, of course, remains above all. His presence is felt, but never seen, and it is only in the briefest of moments, when you are summoned, that you might catch a glimpse of him. In this world, you are both seen and unseen. Your work is noticed, but you are not. You exist to serve, to fulfill your duties, but you remain in the background, a shadow in the grand scheme of things. It is a loneliness that cannot be defined, for it is not the absence of people, but the absence of recognition. Despite the solitude, there is comfort in the work you do. It is not about being noticed. It is not about praise or rewards. It is about fulfilling your role, playing your part in the greater tapestry of Egypt. Each task you perform, however small, contributes to the flow of the Pharaoh's day, to the divine order that governs the land. There is a quiet satisfaction in this, a peace that comes from knowing that your service, though unnoticed, is still necessary. It is a life of service without expectation of return, a life lived in the shadows of the Pharaoh's greatness, yet still part of the greater whole. You find your peace in the work itself, in the quiet moments of duty. And when the sun begins to set, casting the last light of the day through the high windows of the palace, you reflect on the hours that have passed. There is no rush to the evening, no hurry to end the day. The rhythm of the palace continues, steady and unbroken, just as it did in the morning. The work is done, and though you may be tired, you are at peace. You have fulfilled your role, and that, in itself, is enough. As you find yourself resting, the weight of the day's work gradually lifting from your shoulders, take a moment to reflect on the life of the Pharaoh's servant. The quiet, repetitive rhythm of each day, the demands of the climate, the solitude of the task, and the comfort found in simple duty. It is not a life of excitement or grandeur, but it is a life of purpose. Every action, every movement is part of a larger plan, woven into the fabric of Egypt itself. Let the stillness of the day settle in your mind, allowing the peaceful, rhythmic flow of the work to soothe you. The demands of the palace may be many, but in the quiet repetition, there is peace. And as you drift into the stillness of the evening, know that the work, though unrecognized, is an offering, a humble service to the greater order of the Pharaoh, to the gods, and to the eternal land of Egypt. In the land of Egypt, every day is lived under the watchful eyes of the gods. Their presence is woven into the very fabric of the world. The Nile, the sun, the desert winds, all are seen as expressions of divine will. From the moment the first light touches the earth to the time the last stars appear in the sky, the rhythm of life is guided by the unseen hand of the gods. As a servant in the Pharaoh's palace, you are not merely performing tasks for the Pharaoh, you are serving the gods themselves, for the Pharaoh is their living representative on earth. Each action you take is imbued with a sacred purpose, a devotion to the divine order that governs everything in Egypt. Your work, though humble, is an offering, a tribute to the gods who watch over the land. It is not a question of belief, it is a way of life. The very air you breathe is filled with the unseen presence of the divine, and every step you take within the palace is one that carries the weight of sacred duty. The gods are always watching, always present, and as a servant, you must carry out your work with a quiet reverence, as if the gods themselves are beside you. At the center of this divine order stands the Pharaoh. To the people of Egypt, he is not just a king. He is a living god, a divine intermediary between the heavens and the earth. The Pharaoh's every action is seen as an extension of divine will, and as a servant in his court, you are both near and distant from this divinity. You serve not only the Pharaoh as a ruler, but the gods through him. There is an understanding, deep and unspoken, that your work is sacred. You do not serve just a man, but a being who holds the very essence of divinity in his hands. The Pharaoh is your master, yes, but he is also the representative of the gods who have shaped the world. And in serving him, you serve those gods as well. This is a duty that transcends personal will or ambition. When you enter the palace, you are not simply crossing the threshold of a building. You are stepping into a space that exists between worlds, where the mortal and the divine meet. Every chamber is a place of ritual, every movement a sacred task, even if it is as simple as cleaning a room or preparing the pharaoh's food. Each day in the pharaoh's palace is a quiet dance of rituals, some grand, some small, but all of them important in their own way. As a servant, you are often tasked with assisting in these sacred acts, even if you do not fully understand their meaning. The priests, dressed in their fine garments, move with the grace of those who know the divine truths, but the servants, like you, remain on the edges, assisting, observing, but never fully partaking. There are moments in the day when you might find yourself in the presence of the priests, carrying water or arranging incense. In these moments there is a sense of awe that you cannot fully express, a quiet reverence as you see the rituals unfold before you. You are a part of something much larger than yourself, something that cannot be seen but can only be felt in the stillness of the room. Even the simplest tasks carry a weight of reverence. The pharaoh's linens must be folded with care, for they are touched by his divinity. The food must be prepared with respect, for it nourishes the body of a god. Even the water you carry is sacred, as it flows from the Nile, the very lifeblood of Egypt, blessed by the gods themselves. With this constant awareness of the divine comes a burden, one that weighs silently on your heart. As a servant, you must always be obedient, not just to the pharaoh, but to the gods through him. There is no room for doubt, no room for hesitation. Your role is clear, and it is to serve, to carry out your duties with a quiet devotion that leaves no room for personal thought or desire. The gods demand respect, and the pharaoh demands your loyalty. This is a world where questioning the order is not just discouraged, it is unthinkable. In the stillness of the palace, beneath the gaze of the gods, obedience is a form of devotion. To serve is to offer yourself up without question, without expectation of reward. It is a quiet surrender. The burden of obedience weighs heavily, but it is also comforting in its certainty. You know your place. You know what is expected of you. There is no ambiguity in your role. The gods do not ask for more than your complete devotion, and in return, they offer a sense of order, of purpose, and of belonging to something greater than yourself. In this world of devotion to the divine, there is little room for personal desire. The work you do is not for your own satisfaction or recognition. It is an offering, a quiet act of service that is meant to contribute to the divine order. Your own wishes, your own thoughts, must be set aside as you carry out your tasks. This is the price of serving in a world where the god... There is, however, a certain peace in this absence of personal desire. When your own thoughts are set aside, when you no longer seek personal gain or recognition, there is space for something else, a quiet surrender to the greater rhythm of life. You no longer question. You no longer desire. You simply serve. The absence of personal desire does not leave you empty. Instead, it allows the sacredness of your duties to fill you. Each task, no matter how small, becomes a way of connecting with the divine. The gods may not speak to you directly, but in the quiet acts of service, in the small rituals that fill your day, you can feel their presence. In this there is comfort, knowing that your role, though humble, is a vital part of the divine plan. Take a moment now to reflect on the life of a servant in the pharaoh's palace. In a world where the divine is ever present, where every task is sacred, what does it mean to serve? To live in devotion to the gods, to give up personal desire, and to find peace in the quiet obedience to a greater order. The work may be humble, but it is part of something much greater. In serving, you are a part of the divine rhythm of Egypt. Allow the stillness of this reflection to settle in your mind as you contemplate the quiet reverence that fills the air in the pharaoh's palace. The gods watch over you, and in this world of service, you are connected to something vast and eternal. As the sun sinks lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the palace. The pace of the day begins to slow. The heat of the desert retreats, and the air becomes still and cool once more. The gentle hum of activity that filled the palace now quiets, as the servants complete their tasks and retreat to the shadows, leaving the grand halls empty but for the quiet murmur of distant voices. The pharaoh's day too is drawing to a close. The royal chambers, once busy with the hustle of life, now sit in serene silence. The rituals have been performed, the tasks completed. The work, though never-ending, has been done. And now, as the final light of day slips beyond the horizon, there is a sense of peace. The rhythm of the palace, the cycle of service, continues. The work is done, and for a moment, the servant can rest. As you settle into the quiet of the night, allow the silence to wrap around you. It is a silence born not of emptiness, but of fulfillment. In your service, in your quiet devotion to the Pharaoh and the gods, you have found a stillness that resonates deep within. It is the silence of purpose, of a life lived in harmony with the divine order. In this silence, there is no need to speak, no need to rush. There is only the quiet satisfaction that comes from knowing you have served faithfully. And as you close your eyes, resting from the day's work, remember that this stillness, this quiet reverence, will continue with you, even into the next day, as the rhythm of life carries on.